Richardson, Texas lies a little over 13 miles northeast of downtown Dallas. On the afternoon of October 4th, in the small house she rents while estranged from her husband, Roseanne Galiunas has just put her 4-year-old son Peter down for an afternoon nap.
On the outside, she was a very strong person, very friendly, beautiful, inside and out, very caring.
Roseanne had only been in this house a few months, having moved out of the lavish home the young couple had built earlier that year.
Roseanne's husband, Peter Galiunas, is a doctor and head of the kidney transplant program at Southwestern Medical School.
There had been trouble in the marriage. The fire and passion from their early days together was fading. Roseanne wanted some distance.
She thought he was one thing and he turned out to be another.
Roseanne has been in the rental house since May. It's now October 4th, and reconciliation with her husband Peter does not seem like it is going to happen.
It's unclear who knocked at the door and at exactly what time. When the neighbors were questioned, no one could say who may have stopped by that afternoon. What was clear is that Roseanne willingly invited the perpetrator inside her home, as there were no signs of forced entry.
Hours later, young Peter calls his father at work and states, "Mom's sick, she won't wake up." A call is placed to 911 and police and paramedics are dispatched to the house. When they arrive, they find young Peter at his mother's side and quickly get him away from the crime scene.
The scene was horrific. After a brutal attack, Roseanne had been shot twice through a pillow that was placed over her head, but she was still alive.
Roseanne has a faint pulse at the scene and is rushed to hospital.
She was placed on life support, but doctors did not seem hopeful. Roseanne's injuries were too severe.
I could not see her that way. I wanted to still think she was in Texas and coming home. I didn't want to see her shaved head and her bagged hands and her being on a ventilator and with brain damage.
When Roseanne is taken off life support 2 days later, she dies. It would take another 5 years before those responsible for her tragic end would be finally caught. Boston, Massachusetts, 1977. Far from the Texas heat is where Roseanne and Peter begin their relationship.
Roseanne worked as a nurse in the intensive care unit at a hospital in Boston when she met Dr. Peter Galiunas. Neither were really looking for love at the time. Peter was coming off a failed first marriage and was dating another woman, while Roseanne was married to a teacher, although that marriage was already on the road to a divorce. Both Peter and Roseanne were a little taken aback by their instant connection and the passion that comes with new love. After a few short months of whirlwind romance, and once Roseanne's divorce was finalized, she moves in with Peter.
Peter and Roseanne will not remain in Boston for long.
Peter is offered a position he cannot turn down. It's one that will take him and Roseanne nearly 2,000 miles away and halfway across the country.
In 1978, Dr. Galiunas becomes assistant professor of medicine at Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, where he is director of the kidney transplant program. He also had investments in a medical supply company.
This is a great opportunity for Peter, but Roseanne was not as thrilled.
She was tenacious and she was very honest and she did not mince words. But then there was a side of her that you wouldn't know it, but there was some insecurities there.
Roseanne was not a fan of the Texas heat like Peter was, but the passion of the young couple's relationship helped propel them along, and they married a short time after arriving.
Roseanne finds work at Parkland Hospital, but her tenure is short-lived due to a pleasantly unexpected surprise.
She got pregnant and was thrilled, and that made their relationship a little better.
The pregnancy comes as a shock to Peter, who had been previously diagnosed as sterile.
The Galeunises welcome a son, Peter Galeunus III, born 6 weeks premature in 1979.
Peter has a new job, a new wife, and now his first child. He feels he has to provide the best for his growing family.
Richardson, Texas, home to the University of Texas at Dallas, is one of the more affluent suburbs of the state's third largest city. Only 13 miles from the Dallas city center, it's the ideal place for the successful couple to build a home for their growing family.
In late 1982, Peter and Roseanne meet with several local builders, and in the end, they sign a contract with Larry Ayler Custom Homes for their $400,000 dream home.
Larry Ayler came highly recommended and had a reputation for building fine homes with an impeccable attention to detail. Larry supervised the design and construction, while his wife Joy Ayler took care of the interior decorating. Dr. Galeunus and Larry become fast friends, with Larry even taking Peter quail hunting on his ranch to bond. Peter admires Larry, who is confident and self-assured. A Texas man born and bred, Larry and Joy met in 1966 at a football game in high school. They married shortly after in 1968, when Larry was barely 20 and Joy was 19.
Joy came from an affluent family, but the very young couple wanted to make a go of it on their own. Both of them worked various retail jobs, and they led a modest life together for the first decade of their marriage.
Before becoming a dedicated home builder, Larry worked as a framing carpenter and took drafting classes.
Joy's father wanted to help out, so the couple accepted funds to help Larry launch a custom home building business.
Over the next several years, Larry gains a reputation as an honest businessman who delivers a quality product.
Larry and Joy made a lot of money, and they liked to flaunt it. Joy drove a Porsche, Larry had a Jaguar, a motorcycle, and all the toys.
The Aylers also owned a ranch in nearby Kaufman County.
But outward appearance is one thing. Below the surface, there were troubles in the marriage.
In contrast to his business reputation, Larry has a different side to his personality, one of being controlling and having a temper.
Joy confides to a friend in the early 80s that she discovers Larry is having a series of affairs. But Joy was accustomed to and enjoyed having the finer things in life. So she toughs it out, and the couple stays together.
Larry and his construction crew break ground on the Galeunises' new home in January of 1983. But in an odd change of events, Roseanne abruptly moves out with her son 4 months later, leaving Peter stunned, trying to piece together what's left of his life.
Dr. Galeunus was devastated and confides in his new friend, Larry Ayler, asking if he thinks it's possible Roseanne could be having an affair. Larry responds to Peter, "No way," and continues, "She's not that kind of person."
Desperate for answers, Dr. Galeunus hires a private investigator to look into his estranged wife's activities. The PI uncovers Roseanne has indeed been cheating on her husband, perhaps using the rental house as a little love nest. The investigator reveals to Peter that the man Roseanne is cheating with is none other than the person the couple contracted to build their home, and Peter's new friend, Larry Ayler.
Peter goes to confront her and try whatever it takes to fix their broken marriage, but Roseanne isn't interested.
Roseanne and Larry's affair was exposed, and they can no longer deny it to their spouses.
The Galeunises and the Aylers filed for divorce 4 days apart from each other. Both cases were set to be heard in court on the same day in October of 1983.
And I think he was afraid of what the divorce would do, if he'd get to see his son, if she'd bring him back home.
October 4th, 1983, Roseanne answers a knock at her door.
There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no jimmied locks. Whoever showed up that day, Roseanne let them in.
You got the breakup of 2 marriages and 4 people connected by the infidelity of 2 individuals. That creates a whole lot of animosity.
With Roseanne dead, all signs point directly to the remaining 3 individuals in this twisted love story. But the truth will take years before it surfaces.
Inside this small home on the afternoon of October 4th, 1983, Roseanne Galiunas is bound, gagged, sexually assaulted, shot twice, and left for dead. Roseanne is rushed to hospital as she clings to life.
Roseanne was unconscious and thereby unable to provide any statement to police. Morris McGowan is the lead investigator assigned to the case.
He's quickly advised the only witness at the scene was Roseanne's 4-year-old son, Peter, and he was not able to provide much useful information.
There were no signs of forced entry anywhere on the house, no broken windows or locks. There's no evidence of a struggle inside the house. Everything was in order. Analysis of the scene did not reveal much to go on until McGowan got to Roseanne's bedroom. Roseanne's body had been removed at this time in order to try and save her life, but the scene still speaks to McGowan.
She was sprawled out and had all 4 limbs tied to the corners of her 4-poster bed. Roseanne had tissue shoved into her throat, perhaps to keep her quiet, as it was in this position that the perpetrator attempted to rape Roseanne and failed. The killer then strangled the victim with a pair of her own pantyhose. She must have struggled and managed to get a hand free.
Roseanne fought back. That's when the killer shoots her twice in the back of the head.
A pillow was placed over her head before she was shot. This would muffle the sound of the gun going off. No one heard her scream. No one heard the shots.
Everything is taken into evidence, but there's nothing recovered from the scene that points to any specific suspect.
This is 1983. DNA profiling is still several years from becoming a valuable crime-solving tool.
With no solid leads or viable suspects, Detective McGowan continues his investigation by talking to Roseanne's estranged husband, Dr. Peter Galiunas.
Peter agrees to make a statement, but insists that he have a lawyer present. This is not the usual thing you would see from a husband whose wife was just brutally attacked, unless perhaps you have something to hide.
According to his statement to police, Dr. Galiunas was at work at the time of the murder. He claims to have been talking to his mother on the phone when another call came through on the line.
Dr. Galiunas contends that the second call was from his 4-year-old son, Peter Jr. His mother had taught the smart boy to be able to use the phone to dial his father at work in case of an emergency. The doctor claimed that young Peter said to him, "Dad, Mom's sick. She won't wake up."
The story goes that Peter Sr. called 911 first instead of coming, and that's what bothered me. That little kid was there all by himself with my friend holding on to life, and that creepy guy, thank God, was gone. And when Peter arrived, the police were there, and they found a pulse on her.
Dr. Galiunas also insisted on taking a polygraph test. Polygraph examinations are not legally binding, but they are an effective tool for law enforcement to gauge a suspect's relative guilt or innocence regarding specific criminal activity.
Dr. Galiunas undergoes an extensive examination and questioning, but in the end, he passed the test. Upon being cleared, Dr. Galiunas immediately points his finger at who he believes is responsible. He informs the investigators that Roseanne was having an affair and perhaps they should look at her lover, Larry Ayler. Larry admitted to the affair, but denied any involvement with the attack on Roseanne, instead trying to throw suspicion back on Dr. Galiunas. But as we know, the doctor was already cleared and released. Joy Ayler, who had come to the station with her husband, volunteered to sit for questioning and be examined by polygraph. Both Mr. and Mrs. Ayler passed their polygraphs. With physical evidence, but no suspects to tie them to, no apparent motive for the crime, and the prime suspects having been cleared, Investigators really had their work cut out in solving this case.
The injuries from the assault and the 2 gunshots to her head were too much for Roseanne to come back from. An EEG showed no signs of any brain activity.
After 2 days, Roseanne Galiunas is taken off life support. She dies a short time later.
And just like that, Roseanne Galiunas' case changes from a violent assault to a murder.
The brutal and violent assault on Roseanne Galiunas in her home on the 4th of October 1983 has now become a murder investigation after Roseanne dies when removed from life support, 2 days after the attack. Detective Morris McGowan is the lead investigator on the case. With the victim's estranged husband, her lover Larry Ayler, and her lover's wife all eliminated as suspects, the police have very little to go on.
The attack was not motivated by robbery, as there were several items of jewelry left out in the open at the scene. Based on the sexual assault that the victim suffered, police focus on that being the perpetrator's prime motivation. There were a number of crimes in the surrounding area with a similar MO that McGowan and the Richardson police linked Roseanne's case to. But this, quote, serial killer never left any incriminating evidence at any of the other crime scenes.
With so little to go on, Dr. Galiunas personally offers a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest in his wife's case. The doctor hopes that this will help motivate anyone who knows anything to come forward. It goes nowhere.
Roseanne Galiunas is laid to rest, and while the investigation into her murder continues, there is not much hope for swift justice. Very soon after Roseanne is buried, Larry and Joy Ayler reconcile their relationship. And life went on for a time, with no new leads or developments in the murder of Roseanne Galiunas.
At this point, it's been 2.5 years with no new leads, no breaks in the case.
Dr. Galiunas says that young Peter never talks about his mother. 2 years after the murder, Larry Ayler oddly talks openly and often about his past relationship with Roseanne in front of his wife, Joy. Joy tolerates it for a time, then Larry does something that Joy can never ever forgive him for. Larry began having an affair again. One of them is with Joy's younger sister, Liz, his wife's sister. Less than 3 years since Roseanne's murder, Joy files for yet another divorce from Larry Ayler. But again, their lawyers file for a motion to dismiss the case about 6 months later.
In June of 1986, Joy asks Larry to meet her at their Kaufman Ranch for a horseback ride and a shot at reconciliation.
Larry agrees and arrives at the ranch with a friend of his, Dawn Kennedy.
After waiting for a short while, with Joy not showing up, Larry and Dawn decide to leave.
Not travel far from the ranch when the men come across a Ford pickup blocking the road.
Before the men can even step out to see what might be going on, they come under a hail of gunfire.
Larry tears out of there and miraculously escapes unharmed. Dawn Kennedy, however, is wounded by a gunshot to his elbow.
Larry reports the attack and assumes the attempt on his life is somehow related to Roseanne's murder 3 years previous.
Police dismiss this notion. There's no evidence pointing to a connection, and neither Dawn nor Larry saw who had attacked them.
It wasn't long after the ambush and attempt on his life that Larry Ayler makes a startling discovery.
Larry gets a taste of its own medicine when he learns that his wife Joy has been having an affair of her own.
Joy's lover is a man named Jody Packer, owner of a plumbing business in the Dallas area.
Seems Larry can't swallow this bitter pill, and this marks the end for the Ayler marriage. After a resentful battle over the couple's extensive assets, the Ehlers are officially divorced on August 19, 1986.
Dr. Peter Galiunas remarries in December of 1986, 3 years after the murder of Roseanne. Larry Ehler remarries in January of 1988, less than 2 years after his divorce from Joy. In the spring of 1988, a startling revelation revives the investigation into the murder of Roseanne Galiunas, when Joy's older sister Carol makes a statement to police.
To this point, there's never been any incriminating evidence in the murder case of Roseanne Galiunas. But when Carol walks into the Richardson Police Department, that case is cracked wide open.
Roseanne Galiunas' murder on October 4th of 1983 left little for police to go on. With the prime suspects cleared and all leads exhausted, the investigation stalls. Despite a substantial reward offered by the grieving widow, the case remains unsolved. 3 years after Roseanne's murder, her one-time lover, Larry Ehler, is shot outside his ranch house. Larry would survive the attack and soon after learn that his own wife, Joy Ehler, was having an affair of her own. After years of infidelity and turmoil, the two are finally divorced.
5 years after Roseanne's murder, the detectives get their first real break in the case. Carol is Joy Ehler's older sister by 2 years, and she was the black sheep in the family. Carol Davis was diagnosed with mental illness in the late 70s, although the clinical designation is not known. She did receive treatment at the Baylor Hospital Psychiatric Unit in 1979 and continued to receive outpatient treatment through 1981.
After Carol stopped receiving treatment, she had a few incidents with police when her own parents would call them to report disturbances at their house.
Despite these troubles, Henry and Frances Davis took in Carol's infant daughter, Michelle, and raised the girl as their own. The Davises also gave Carol financial support of $2,500 every 2 weeks until Henry Davis suffered a stroke in 1987, and the payments ceased. And that brings us to May of 1988. The cash reward Dr. Galiunas had put up for information about his wife's murder has yet to be claimed. $25,000 is a lot of motivation to talk.
The information Detective McGowan receives from Carol is complicated, and there's a lot of players involved. Carol alleged that a man named William Garland, a local pest exterminator, was hired to find someone to kill Roseanne Galiunas in 1983. He's given $5,000. Garland in turn pays an undisclosed amount to an auto mechanic named Brian Lee Kriefel to find someone to carry out the murder. Kriefel then hires on-again, off-again car salesman George Anderson Hopper to do the job of killing Roseanne Galiunas. For this, Hopper receives $1,500.
It hadn't come out yet about all the people who were paid to go and harm her. And there's a list. Kept handing down the job until that nut job took it for, I think, what did it get, $1,500, $2,500?
It's a startling accusation. Roseanne's killer was not her estranged husband, Dr. Peter Galiunas, nor was it her lover at the time, Larry Ehler, but rather some random man hired by another random man.
This is the break the cops have been waiting for. Carol, albeit motivated by the reward money rather than the truth, has given McGowan the tip he needed. But Carol's song does not end there. She keeps singing. Carol alleges that William Garland was also hired to arrange for the killing of Larry Ehler in the summer of 1986. Of course, that attack failed and Larry lived. Carol
was pointing a lot of fingers here, but Detective McGowan had only one question. Who was at the top? Who was the mastermind behind the whole thing? Who hired Garland to kill Roseanne and try to kill Larry?
Carol implicates the person behind all the death and drama as her own sister, Joy Ayler.
And I really knew nothing about Joy except the fact that Roseanne thought she was crazy.
At the time of Roseanne's murder, Joy was married to Roseanne's lover, Larry Ayler.
In order to make an arrest, police were going to need a lot more. Carol gave McGowan exactly what he wanted to hear, but it's all speculation and hearsay. If Joy Ayler contracted the hit and George Anderson Hopper was the triggerman, he needed proof.
McGowan needed to hear it from the one person behind all of it.
He was going to need Carol to get her own sister, Joy, to confess to everything. Carol would have to wear a wire.
Carol agrees and makes arrangements to meet her sister at a restaurant.
According to Carol, everything went smoothly and Joy admitted to everything, but when they examined the recording, there was too much background noise for the admission to be admissible in court.
Carol would have to repeat the process all over again.
The next recording happens in a quiet hotel room, and this time the admission is clear.
On May 26, 1988, Joy Ayler is arrested as a suspect in the murder of Roseanne Galiunas. That same day, William Garland is also placed under arrest.
Carol is also arrested in the end, charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the attack on Larry Ayler. In a bizarre final twist to Carol's saga, it's revealed she's married to William Garland and involved with him at the time of the attempt on Larry's life, making her complicit.
Carol's arrest results her in being ineligible to claim the $25,000 cash reward, the one thing that had motivated her to come forward and rat on her own sister in the first place.
Joy Ayler is charged with capital murder for her role in paying for the killing of Roseanne Galiunas.
She's just evil, an evil person. And she took my best friend.
But George Anderson Hopper, the man who entered Roseanne's home nearly 5 years previous, tied her to her bed, sexually assaulted her, strangled her, shot her twice in the head, and left her for dead. This man is yet to be caught. Nearly 5 years after the murder of Roseanne Galiunas takes place, detectives catch a break when Carol Garland alleges her own sister, Joy Ayler, paid William Garland to have Roseanne Galiunas killed in 1983.
A taped confession was all Detective McGowan needed, and Carol helped him to get it. Joy Ayler was arrested for murder. Even though she was not the one who assaulted and shot Roseanne, murder for hire is still a capital offense. According to the string of people Carol claims were involved, she names George Anderson Hopper as the last to get paid in the murder plot.
It's unclear at the time if Hopper is the killer, or simply the last to receive a cut of the initial $5,000 payment Joy Ayler gave to William Garland.
Hopper was a part-time car salesman and insurance appraiser at the time of the murder.
When McGowan begins looking into Hopper, he finds prior charges for an incident of indecent exposure in 1976 and a pickpocketing charge from 1984. There are no prison records for Hopper, and he had no history of felony convictions. Not exactly the rap sheet of a cold-blooded killer.
Police tracked Hopper down and questioned him, but when he excuses himself to get a drink of water, Hopper slips away, and they lose track of him for the next 6 months.
On December 20th, 1988, over 5 years since the murder of Roseanne Galiunas, George Anderson Hopper is arrested on a nationwide warrant, hiding out at a friend's house.
At the time, Hopper admits to Detective McGowan that he took $1,500 to kill Roseanne, but claims that he passed $1,000 on to another man to actually do the killing. a drug dealer named Chip.
Hopper's appointed counsel was Jan Hemphill. She advises her client that the prosecution will be seeking the death penalty against Joy Ayler and Roseanne Galiunas' killer. She instructs her client to continue to cooperate with investigators.
It's now February of 1989. George Anderson Hopper sticks to a story that he did not kill Roseanne, that the murder was committed by a man named Chip. Frustrated and wanting the truth, Detective McGowan schedules for Hopper to take a polygraph exam.
February 27th, Hopper is administered the lie detector test. He fails, and McGowan now goes at him hard. Hopper repeats the story that Chip is responsible, but McGowan is not buying it. Hopper requests to go back to his cell so he can think, but McGowan demands Hopper tell the truth, and now. Hopper confesses to shooting Roseanne Galiunas.
February 27, 1989, George Anderson Hopper is officially charged with murder. His detailed confession, along with an admission to a jailhouse informant and declaration of guilt in a letter written to a friend, were presented as evidence at Hopper's trial. So, too, was the gun used to shoot the victim. Roseanne's killer is held in custody, but this strange tale is yet to be over.
Joy Ayler has been out on a $140,000 bond awaiting her trial as the mastermind of Roseanne's murder.
It may not be a shock to learn that Joy was having an affair with her attorney, a man named Mike Wilson. Now, Wilson was in some trouble himself, facing felony drug charges after the DEA busted him in a hotel room with over 20 pounds of cocaine.
Joy understands she could be handed the death penalty if convicted for contracting Roseanne's murder. Mike Wilson would be facing a lengthy prison term on his drug charges.
In a daring move to elude justice, Joy drains her bank account, and the lovers go on the run with somewhere around $300,000 in cash.
As a fugitive from justice, Joy Ayler is pursued by authorities all over the globe, first fleeing to British Columbia, Canada. A month later, in June of 1990, Joy leaves her lover, Mike Wilson, in Canada and flies out of the country on her own. A tip from a Dallas woman who encountered Joy says she met her at a Spanish language school in Cuernavaca, Mexico. It's the best lead the police have had since Joy jumped bond. However, Joy evades capture and is once again on the run.
While authorities worldwide are on the lookout for Joy Ayler, the Texas courts were busy with the rest of those involved in the case.
William Garland pleaded guilty to accepting money to arrange for the killing of Roseanne and also for arranging the attempted killings of Larry Ayler. He received a 30-year sentence. Brian Lee Kriefel also received 30 years after pleading guilty to soliciting capital murder and admitting to passing money to Hopper.
The Matthews brothers, Buster and James, and William Gary. Now, these are the two who were responsible for the rifle attack on Gary Ayler that injured Don Kennedy, also arranged by Joy and Garland. Now, Buster pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to life in prison.
Jody Packer, Joy's off-again, on-again lover, was charged with passport fraud and violation of federal financial reporting laws for his involvement and assistance to Joy on the run. He denies the charges.
Mike Wilson, Joy's attorney and lover at the time of her escape from justice, was arrested in British Columbia, Canada, a short time after Joy abandoned him. He was convicted of his drug charges and was given a 15-year prison term.
Carol Garland, Joy's sister, who originally went to detectives with hopes of collecting the $25,000 reward, was herself charged with conspiracy in the attempted murder of Larry Ayler.
George Anderson Hopper's trial is set to begin in January of 1992, and Joy Ayler is still free, somewhere. Saint-Paul-de-Vence is a commune in the south of France, a little west of Nice. It's here that Joy Ayler attempts to settle after fleeing Mexico authorities 6 months prior.
Every time we heard something, we were like, what? And then to find out that her sister was involved with blackmail, and then her running off with her lawyer, I think I was her lawyer, and he was into drugs, And then she left him and went to France.
She's traveling under a false identity, using the name of a recently deceased Dallas woman, Elizabeth Sharp. She's told people in the community that she fell in love with the region while she and her husband passed through there from Germany into the southern region of France. Her husband is traveling around Europe and the Middle East on business, and she wanted a place to relax and have a garden to tend to.
The car that Joy had rented under her assumed name was located damaged on the side of a road. This led them to her villa, and she was taken to the station in Nice for questioning about the incident involving the abandoned car. The French authorities' investigation under Detective Roland Saya revealed the international warrant that had been issued for Joy Ayler. Despite her protests, fingerprints confirmed her identity as the woman fleeing justice for the murder of Roseanne Galiunas. Saya calls Detective McGowan in Texas with the good news, but that does not last long.
Joy had hidden a razor blade in the waistband of her pants when the police picked her up at the villa. And knowing that she wasn't able to flee again, Joy figured she would take the easy way out, but her attempt at suicide failed. But, as it's been demonstrated, getting Joy Ayler to face justice won't be easy.
The government of France has strict guidelines concerning international fugitives apprehended on French soil. They will not extradite a criminal suspect if there is even a chance that they will face the death penalty once convicted in their home country. Assistant DA Kevin Chapman explains the situation to Detective McGowan. Unless they take the death penalty off the table, French authorities will not release Joy Ayler back to America.
On October 4th, 1983, Roseanne Galiunas was brutally murdered in her home by a man named George Anderson Hopper. In the spring of 1988, nearly 5 years after the brutal slaying, a new lead exposes a complex web of conspiracies that ultimately leads to the arrest of Roseanne's killer. The woman behind it all is Joy Ayler, motivated by the fact that the victim was having an affair with her husband at the time, Larry Ayler. Joy is caught on tape confessing to contracting the killing. After being arrested and posting a bond of $140,000, Joy goes on the run for nearly a year. In the spring of 1991, Joy is apprehended in France, where she's held by authorities while details of her extradition are negotiated, a process that ultimately takes close to 2 years.
The trial of Roseanne Galiunas' accused killer, George Anderson Hopper, got underway in January of 1992. The evidence presented by the Assistant District Attorney, Kevin Chapman, was substantial. Not only had Hopper admitted to killing Roseanne Galiunas verbally to a jailhouse informant, and in a written form via a letter to a friend, but the gun used to shoot the victim was also located. Top that off with a taped confession to Detective McGowan, and there seems to be little doubt a conviction was forthcoming.
March 2nd, 1992, 5 weeks after the trial began and over 8 years since the murder, a jury finds George Anderson Hopper guilty of murder. 2 weeks later, Hopper is sentenced to death by lethal injection.
Hopper and his lawyers made attempts to appeal the conviction, but it was upheld each time. George Anderson Hopper was executed on the 8th of March, 2005.
Here are Hopper's final words. "I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. The things I did changed so many lives. I can't take it back. It was an atrocity. I am sorry. I beg your forgiveness. I know I am not worthy of it."
Over a year and a half after George Anderson Hopper is found guilty at trial for the murder of Roseanne Galiunas, Joy Ayler is finally extradited from France after prosecutors agreed to not seek the death penalty for her part in contracting the killing. In August of 1994, the murder-for-hire trial against Joy Ayler begins. She too is found guilty and receives a life sentence with eligibility for parole.
I knew in my heart that Joy had put someone up to it, but I couldn't prove it. That's just my feeling. And again, I didn't know the extent that Peter was involved, but when stories came out, it seemed suspicious that he could have been part of it.
Joy's first chance at parole came in 2011. It was denied. She was also denied parole in 2017.
Roseanne Galiunas was only 33 years old. She adored her son and only wanted the best for him and herself.
But as a mother, she's like that type, a bear. If something was not right for her child, you knew it, and she would make sure that that child came first.
Was moving to Texas and marrying Dr. Galiunas a mistake? Maybe.
I think in the beginning, when I first knew him, he was very caring and loving and was thrilled she was having this baby. And then come home and visit, and I noticed how controlling he was. And that wasn't Roseanne.
Was having an affair with Larry Ayler a mistake? Perhaps.
We know for sure that allowing Hopper inside her home that day was a fatal mistake.
Hopper's final words were right. What happened to Roseanne Galiunas was an atrocity, a mistake neither he nor Joy Ayler could take back, not even after they were finally caught.